Hello, class 9th students. Greetings of the day. Today, we are going to study the second chapter of our history book, which is the Vedic period, which starts from 1500 BC and lasts to 500 BC. Before this chapter, we have already studied about Indus Valley civilization, and we saw how Indus Valley civilization came to an end, how it was declined. And we have also studied that one of the possible reason for the downfall of Indus Valley civilization was attack by Aryans or invasion by Aryans. We have studied that these Aryans who migrated from Central Asia from the regions of steppes in Russia and areas near the Caspian Sea. From there, they migrated in all directions towards Europe also and towards Asia also. The Aryans who came to India by crossing Hindu Kush mountains, they were responsible for the downfall of, you can say, one of the prominent and civilization of India, which was Indus Valley civilization. So after that, their time started, right? And we are going to study about Aryans in detail in this chapter, right, which is the Vedic period. So this Vedic period basically starts from 1500 BC. The mature phase of Vedic period is 1500 BC to 500 BC, you can say here, right? This Vedic period is also further divided into two periods: early Vedic period and later Vedic period. Now, early Vedic period and later Vedic period, why do we categorize this? Because the area of settlement here in early Vedic period was near the sub-Sindhu rivers. Sub-Sindhu rivers like river Ravi, Chenab, Beas, Satluj, okay, and they were spread all over from Afghanistan to Punjab, eastern UP, and this entire region, you can say, the western frontier region of India, right? This UP, Punjab, and Afghanistan, this entire region was called Brahmavarta. And during this time, during these 500 years only, the Rig Veda was composed. Then after that, what happens? They migrated towards Ganga, and river Yamuna. Means they were here, and then after that they migrated and came here. Means towards the east of India, right? And there they composed three more Vedas, which were Samveda, Atharva Veda, and Yajurva Veda, right? And during this time iron was discovered. So we can say the Vedic period is categorized into two periods: early Vedic period and later Vedic period. Early Vedic period 1500 BC to 1000 BC, and later Vedic period 1000 BC to 500 BC, right? So it was you can say a time period of 1000 years. Now, when we study about something in history, any chapter, then we also study about the sources of knowledge. From where do we get the information about that particular topic or particular period? So now we are studying about the Vedic period. So the question comes, ki, how do we know about Vedic period, right? So these sources are of two types. I have already taught you. I have taught you in class 6 also and 7th also that sources are of two types. One is literary source and another is archaeological source, right? Literary sources are those sources which were written during that time, or if we are having a written account or piece of information, whether it is a manuscript or it is a newspaper cutting or it is a magazine or it is a book or it is any piece of paper, any piece of information written on a paper, right? That source, that information, okay, which tells us something about that particular topic, okay, that is called literary source. Okay, literary sources are manuscript, books, all these writings, okay, uh, religious books also, right, and some treaties also, Clear? So we are having literary sources as well as archaeological sources. Archaeological sources are, you can say, the remnants of, you can say, buildings, sculptures, coins. Okay, the things which are tangible. Okay, all such ruins we study. We do carbon 14 dating, and we come to know that how old this particular thing is and which period it belongs to. Then we reconstruct our past or history. So there are two types of sources: literary sources, archaeological sources. In literary sources, here we are having literary sources for Vedic period also, and we are also having archaeological sources, right, which tells us about the Vedic period, right. Literary sources of Vedic period we have categorized into further here two types: Vedas and epics, right? Vedas and epic. Now, what is epic? Epics are, you can say, the detailed or long poems, okay, which tells about the heroic deeds of some heroes, okay, like Ram, Arjun, or you can say Hercules. Okay, these means the poems which tells about the glory and bravery of the people. Okay, those are called epics. So here we are having two epics, which is Ramayana and Mahabharata. Ramayana tells us about the uh, bravery, glory, and the life of Rama, Lord Rama, and Mahabharata tells us about the battle between the Kauravas and Pandavas, right? In which Pandavas fought against their brothers, cousins, which were Kauravas, which were 100 in numbers. Okay, and this is a detailed description about the battle, right? In which Lord Krishna also gave the sermon of karma to Arjun and asked him to do his deeds. Okay, these all things are written in poetic forms. Okay, that's why they are called Ramayana and Mahabharata. These are epics. So from this Ramayana and Mahabharata also we come to know about the Vedic period, right? So these are the sources from which we come to know about the period which existed around 1500 years before the birth of Jesus Christ in India, especially in the northwest India. Okay, then after that we are having in Vedas we can categorize. In Veda we are having three types of literary sources. First is four main Vedas, second is commentaries and explanations, and third is allied Vedic literature. So four main Vedas we already know. This is Rig Veda, Sam Veda, Yajur Veda, Atharva Veda. There were the four, these were the four main Vedas. Then the add-on scriptures which were written in order to explain these Vedas, okay, right, which were also called commentaries and explanations, right, like Brahmanas, Aranyakas, and Upanishads, right. These are the second type of, you can say, literary sources for knowing Vedic period. And apart from these main Veda and commentaries, we are also having allied Vedas or allied Vedic literature, right? Like we are having the parts of Vedas which are called Vedangas, Sutras, Upvedas, Darshanas, and Dharmshastras. So here, these are the sources, right? Uh, because of the COVID-19 pandemic, ICSE has reduced the syllabus, and from this chapter, they have reduced archaeological sources portion, right? So we not need to memorize this archaeological source uh, portion. We will just study about the literary sources of Vedic period. So I repeat here, in literary sources, we are having what? We are having Vedas, four main Vedas, right? Vedas and epics. In epic, Ramayana and Mahabharata. In Vedas, four main Vedas, commentaries and explanation, and allied Vedic literature. In four main Vedas, first is Rig Veda, second Samaveda, third Yajurveda, and fourth Atharva Veda. Then we are having commentaries, Brahmanas, the Aranyakas, and the Upanishads. Then we are having the allied Vedic literature, Vedangas, Sutras, Upvedas, and Darshanas, as well as Dharmshastras, right? So we are going to study about these many sources, okay, in next pages. We will not study about archaeological sources, iron artifacts, and pottery. we may study, but we will not we not need to learn it, okay, for examination point of view. Now let us move to the next page. So here it is. So literary sources. I have already explained you a lot about literary sources. So we come to know about Vedic period by various literary sources. Like I have told you, Vedas, Vedangas, Brahmanas, Upanishad, epics, etc. Now, Rig Veda was composed during early Vedic period. I have already told you, and during 1500 BC to 1000 BC. The other three Vedas, that is Sam Veda, Yajurva Veda, Atharva Veda, were composed during later Vedic age, around 1000 to 500 BC. Right? This also I have told you. In Vedas, we will study about four Veda, which is the first Veda is the Rig Veda, second is Sam Veda, third is Yajur Veda, and fourth is Atharva Veda. Now, what is Rig Veda? What is Rig Veda? It is one of the earliest written Veda. Okay, so it is the oldest religious text in the world and is therefore known as First Testament of mankind. It is divided into 10 mandalas, right? So here they are saying that okay, it is one of the oldest religious text, right? It is the oldest religious text in the world and is therefore known as First Testament of mankind. Testament of mankind, testament, uh, you can say an agreement between God and human beings, right, or a disposal of God, okay, which something a sacred, you can say sacred scripture which is sent to people by God. That is, you can say the First Testament of mankind. Like you can say we are having Quran, okay, or Bible, okay, that is also the testament of God given to the mankind or human beings, okay. So this Rig Veda is one of the earliest religious text, and it is you can say divided into 10 mandals, right? Mandals are the parts, okay. And uh, in Rig Veda only, in the 10th mandal, right, there is a shlok, right, which is written, which is brahmanose mukh masit bahu rajanya kirtah uru tadast yadesham padabhyang shudro ajayat. It means that ke Brahman arise from mouth, and the Kshatriyas took birth from arms, and Vaishyas took birth from the stomach, and the Shudras got birth from what? From food. Food, right? Now, this is, you can say, a couplet which became the basis for the division of society, which we will study in next pages, how the society was divided. So I have told you that in Rig Veda only, in the 10th mandal, right, Purush Sukt is written. This is called Purush Sukt, right? In Purush Sukt, they have described that how the society should be divided, and it is also written in, you can say, uh, that Manu Smriti. Okay, Manu Smriti became the law book for the division of society that we will take into account afterwards. Second is the Sam Veda. Sama Veda, Sama means sweet song or the melody, right? It contains hymns sung at the time of sacrifices. During the time of sacrifice, right, they used to sing hymns from Sama Veda. Then third Veda was Yajurveda. It deals with hymns recited during the performance of yajnas or yag through light throws light on social and religious life of Aryans. So from Yajurveda we come to know about the social and religious life of Aryans, how the social and religious life of Aryans was, right? How the society was and how they used to perform the religion. And in this book only, or in this Veda only, the hymns which were recited during performance of yag, one means the priest and the host used to sit in front of fire, okay, and in that they used to put ghee and grains and fruits and used to say swaha, right? That is called yajna or yag, okay. This is how yag is performed. You must have seen in movies one priest putting ghee and these other grains and vegetables, okay, and burning all these, right? And after burning it, the smoke goes into the sky, right? And they believe that this smoke or these offerings, which are, you can say, grains or ghee or any other offering, okay, which we burn there, right? And these offerings get changed into smoke, and smoke goes upside to the sky, right? And it is received by the god, right? These all offerings are received by the god in the form of smoke. It was their belief, right? So the chants or the mantras which were supposed to be sung or chanted at the time of performing these yajnas, okay, were written in Yajur Veda, right? Then next is Atharva Veda. Atharva Veda, the hymns contained in this Vedic Veda deals with magic and charm, gyan, karma, upasana, and medicines for treatment of various disease. So in Atharva Veda, there are the hymns, okay, which deals with magic, jadoo, and charm, and gyan. Gyan means knowledge. Karma. Karma means deeds, and upasana. Upasana means again prayer, and medicines for treatment of various disease. So I have told you meaning of gyan. Karma means deeds. Upasana means to pray, right? Or to do prayer of someone. Okay. Medicines for treatment of various disease. So these were the four Vedas. Now, these Vedas were written in poetic form, okay, and they were very hard to be understood by the people, right? So, for making people understand, right, there were some commentaries also written, right, and those commentaries are called, you can say, Brahmanas, okay. So we are going to study that also now, okay, right? So here it is. Now the Brahmanas, right? Brahmana, these are the simple explanation or commentary of Vedas written in prose. Okay, right? So we have studied about Rig Veda, Samveda, Yajurveda, Atharva Veda, and we also know that these were written in poetic form. Okay, now in Brahmana, explanation of these Vedas are written, is written. Okay, now uh, Aranyakas, Aranyaka, or these are known as forest books. Why? Because Aranyaka in Hindi is called forest. Okay, written for the guidance of hermits and the students living in forest. So these were the books, okay, which were written for the guidance uh, of the monks and the students, those who were living in forest during their vanprastha ashram, you can say. Ashram system also we will study in the next pages. We will study that the whole life of Vedic people was divided into four periods of 25, 25, 25, 25 years, right? And their first phase was called brahmacharya ashram, okay, and the last phase was called sannyas ashram, okay, that we will also study in the next pages. The next is Upanishad. They are philosophical commentaries on the Vedas. The doctrines such as karma, moksha, and maya are explained in detail, right? So here they are philosophical commentaries on the Vedas. The doctrines such as karma doctrine, like we have heard from the people that karma comes back, what we do to others, right, and is also done with to us also after some time, right? This is karma. Karma means whatever we do, our deeds. Moksha is salvation, right? Salvation, you can say, to get rid from all sufferings and problems, okay, that is also meaning of moksha and salvation. And in Jainism and Buddhism, moksha means to get rid from the recurring cycle of life and death, sorry, life and death, birth and death, okay, right? And maya means the wealth, money, the wealth or money, right? Maya are explained in detail. So in Upanishad, what are there in Upanishad? Philosophical commentaries on Vedas are there, right? And the principles of karma, tenets of karma, tenets of moksha. Karma means deeds, moksha means salvation, and Maya, wealth, are explained in detail. So we have studied the, you can say, four main Vedas: Rig Veda, Samaveda, Yajurveda, Atharva Veda, and we have studied about the commentaries and explanation, which is Brahmanas, Aranyakas, and Upanishad. Now we will study about all these things, right? So, allied Vedic literature. In allied Vedic literature, we have the Vedangas, right? The six Vedangas deal with pronunciation of Vedas, grammar, etymology, metrics, and astronomy. Now, what are these Vedangas? These Vedangas tells us that how to read or how to pronounce the, you can say, suktas or the couplets or the chantings in the Vedas, right? What should be our pronunciation, what should be the pitch, right? And all these things, right? And the grammar also, and etymology means from where the word is taking birth or evolving. Okay, how one word took birth, or you can say how one word get evolved. Okay, that is called, or you can say, origin of the word. Origin of the word is etymology, right? Then metrics is again uh, that it is the rhythm in which the poem is read, okay, right? And astronomy. So these Vedangas tells us that how you should pronounce the words or the mantras given in, or the chantings given in the Vedas, and how you will understand the grammar and the origin of the words, how the words got origin, and the what should be the rhythm of pronouncing and reading the Vedas, right? And about astronomy also. Astronomy, uh, about the knowledge of stars. Okay. Then the sutras, there were three sutras. First is Shrota Sutra, second is Griha Sutra, third is Dharma Sutra, right? Shrota Sutra deals with yajna or yag and sacrifices, right? And Greh Sutra deals with ceremonies connected with family or life. As name itself tells us, Greh. Greh means ghar. There are two meanings of Greh. One is Greh planet, okay, and another Greh is home, family, okay, right? So ceremonies connected with family life. Then Dharm Sutra. Dharm Sutra means rule of conduct, how your conduct should be there, right? So these were the sutras. Then the Upvedas were also written. Right, there were four Upvedas, which was Ayurveda, Dhanurveda, Gandharvveda, and Shilpaveda. Ayurveda deals with Indian system of medicine. Like today, we are having Ayurvedic medicines. Okay, like Ashoka rest, like Punarvadi rest. So many these. You must have heard about so many medicines of Ayurveda. Okay, and then Dhanurveda is a art of warfare, right? In this, how to fight war, right? Warfare techniques were written in this text of Vedic literature, right? Which is called Dhanur Veda. Then Gandharva Veda describes the art of music. In this, the music was explained. Shilpaveda, in Shilpaveda, art and architecture was explained. It deals with the art and architecture. Then we are having darshanas. In darshanas, there are these darshans, or you can say the schools of philosophy, right? There are six schools of philosophy which are called Shad Darshan. First is Nyaya Darshan, second is Visheshika, third is Sankhya, fourth is Yog Darshan, fifth is Purva Mimamsa, and sixth is Uttar Mimamsa. So these are the six major schools of Indian philosophy, right? It tells us about the Indian philosophy, and combinedly they are called Shad Darshan or six Darshanas. We just need to remember their names. We not need to study in detail about darshans. We just need to remember Nyaya Darshan, Visheshika, Sankhya, Yoga, Purv Mimamsa, Uttar Mimamsa. Then there were Dharma Shastras. Dharma Shastras were Dharma Sutra plus Smriti were equals to Dharma Shastras. Now, what were Dharma Sutra? Dharma Sutra were the sutra, or you can say formulas, okay, the law books which lay down the duties for different classes of people, officials and kings. Okay, so these were the formulas which, or the books which lay down the duties for different classes of people, officials and kings. Okay, and when they were combined with the smritis, they were called dharma shastras, right? So there was manusmriti. Example, manusmriti was there. In manusmriti, you can say entire society was divided into four classes, right? The highest class or the uppermost class was brahmanas, then kshatriyas, then vaishyas, and then shudras. And in Manu Smriti, it was written कि which work belongs to whom, which class will do which work. Okay, their works were defined. Uh, the works which were, you can say, associated with mind, okay, were given to Brahmins, and the works which were associated with bravery, right, and you can say arms, or you can say the courage and the rule, okay, were given to kshatriyas. And the works associated with the stomach means doing trade, right, earning money for the entire society, okay, right, these works like trade, business, were given to Vaishyas. And Shudras, this was the lowest class, okay, and to them uh, the work of serving all three classes, which is Vaishyas, Kshatriyas, and Brahmanas, was given to them. Their condition was very bad, and you can say they were being exploited by these three upper classes, right? So this system was given in Manusmriti. Manusmriti, it was written by sage Manu, okay, and he gave a formula, right, to the society, in which he divided the entire society and assigned them their responsibilities and duties. Then we are having Ashtadhyay. Ashtadhyay, it is a treatise on Sanskrit grammar written by Panini. Rishi Panini uh, wrote Ashtadhyay. It is a grammar book, Sanskrit grammar book. Treatise, what is the meaning of treatise? Treatise means a detailed account of something, right? Written a detailed account of a particular subject. Like suppose if we are writing about grammar, okay, so in grammar we are writing about Sanskrit grammar in detail. Likewise, if suppose if I write about plants, okay, especially about a particular plant, maybe gymnosperm or angiosperm. If I write about angiosperm in detail, okay, so that work which gives information only about angiosperms, okay, is called what? Treatise, or means a detailed account of something, or a detailed account of information about something. Then we are having the epics. Epics, I have already told you, right? Ramayana and Mahabharata were the two important epics. In Ramayana, it was written by Maharishi Valmiki. It is a story of Ram, the son of Dashrath, king of Ayodhya. It is all about love, duty, and brotherhood. Okay, love between Ram, Sita, Dashrath, right, and the duty of, you can say, a man, and brotherhood, right. In this book, they have shown the character of Maryada Purushottam Ram, which kind of character he was, and what he did in particular situation, what he did when he was sent to exile, okay, by his stepmother Kekai, right, and what he did in forest during the period of exile, okay, and what he did when the Sita was assassinated by Ravana or Ravan, okay. So this entire episode is covered in Ram, and it is the religious, you can say, text from where we come to know about the uh, Vedic culture. Okay, when school will get reopened, I may tell you a lot about these all epics and all these things in detail. Okay, I'll tell you so many interesting stories also. Uh, but we have to finish our syllabus soon also. So let us finish it fast. Maharashtra, sorry, not Maharashtra. I'm so sorry. Mahabharata. Mahabharata. Okay, the epic next is Mahabharat. Mahabharat. It was written by Maharishi Vedvyas. It depicts the heroic scene of battle between Kaurav and Pandavas. Bhagavad Gita is the part which tells us about the importance of karma. It contains all sermons given by Lord Krishna, right? So I have already told you in the beginning of the video, right? What was Mahabharat? Mahabharat was, you can say, generally in today's time also, when two parties or two people are fighting with each other, we use the word, okay, what is going on, that Mahabharat is going on between these two people. Okay, so we fighting has become, or Mahabharat has become a synonym to fight also, right? Okay, between these two, Mahabharat has happened. Okay, so what was there actually? There were 100 brothers of Pandavas, 100 cousins of Pandavas, okay, which were called Kauravas, okay, and Pandavas were five, in which Yudhishthir, Bhim, Arjun, Nakul, and Sahadev. Okay, these five people were there, and Duryodhan and his party, means other 99 brothers. They were in one party, and these five brothers, Nakul, Sahadev, starting from the eldest one, which is Yudhishthir, and then Arjun, and then Bhim, Nakul, and Sahadev. Okay, these were the five brothers, and they were also exiled. Okay, by these Kauravas, right? Because actually, there is a very long story about this. If I go went to that story, then entire period will be means entire time will be consumed in that only. So I'll tell you this story sometime again, sometime afterwards. Okay. So let us move to the next page. Okay, now archaeological sources. Archaeological sources, I have already told you that this will not be asked in exam. Okay, we have found so many archaeological sources which were associated with agriculture, right? And their defense and their occupations. Agriculture like axes, right? And their occupations like we have obtained hammers, nails, and tongs, and defense swords and arrows and shields were obtained. Okay, so these sources also tells us or gives us information about the Vedic period. Pottery also will also not take into the account. Okay, you can read it, okay, in the notes. So let us move to the next topic, which is society. Okay, society means how the people were, how the system of people was there. Okay, so in Vedic society, Vedic society was patriarchal in nature. Patriarchal means the society where the head of the family is a male. Okay, like father, right, and grandfather. This is patriarchal society. Matriarchal society is opposite to the patriarchal. In this, the head of the family is a female, right? So here the head of the family was male. Family was fundamental unit of society. Okay, so many families were there, and so many families together used to make a village, right? And the head of the family was called Grihapati or Kulpati. Grih means ghar, and pati, okay, means ghar ka pati, right? Grihapati or Kulpati, clear? Then we are having next paragraph. Several families together formed villages or gram, and several villages formed a visha. Many vishas formed a jana. The head of village was called Gramini, that of Visha Vishpati, Raja of Jana. Right. So we are having family. Family was the basic unit, right? Uh, fundamental unit of society. So this family and the head of family, or you can say the kul, the head of family or kul was Grihapati or Kulpati. Okay, and then after that we are having this number of families used to compose a village or make a village, and the head of the village was Gramini, and so many villages all together used to form a district, or you can say a wish. Okay, and that the head of the wish or that district was Vishpati, and so many district or vishas together used to form a state or kingdom, okay, or which is called Jana, and the head was called Raja, right? So this was about the society, means you can say uh, families were there, villages, families used to compose village used to compose to vishas, and vishas used to compose Jana. Then we are having next point, Sabha, council of elders, and Samiti, assembly of people. In Sabha only elders were there, it was council of elders, and in Samiti all people were there. And Vidhata was one more organization which used to perform economic, military, social, and religious functions, were the three important assemblies which used to aid Raja in ruling. So when Raja was there, king was there, and the king used to help with the help of Sabha, which was a council of elders. Samiti is the all assembly of all people. Okay, they were also invited to give their suggestions sometime. And Vidhata